Ladies and gentlemen, the time right now is 10:07 at WPSL, the talk of the Treasure Coast. Time for Joanne's World of Nutrition with the one and only Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So glad to be back in the studio. Took another summer vacation. I'm getting absolutely spoiled this summer. So we went to North Carolina to Lake Lure.
Wait a minute.
You know.
And the week before you went to Vegas?
Well, the month before. Come on, I'm not that spoiled.
Yeah,
but
every week
yes.
somewhere else, in Belize next week, and then the
Oh
week
my
after
gosh!
that,
Well, my mother-in-law, incredible with her timeshare. So it's like
thank goodness.
once I gave a hint that we're interested in not wasting her money and she can get her timeshares worth, we're having some fun and I love it. I love it.
About time, huh?
It's absolutely about time. But in the summer, obviously we're so seasonal here in Fort Pierce, being so close to a gorgeous beach. So
this is the time of year to visit Alaska.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, the mountains were a little cooler. They weren't as cool as everyone talked about. Like, oh, you're going to the mountains, you'll get a break, and it was still 92 degrees in the sun. So
that doesn't count. That's not a break.
But when we went tubing down the, I think it was called Broad River, it was incredible because you could go in this beautiful water that was super clean and it was cool. So that was refreshing. So there was enough trees, which that was my favorite part, seeing all the trees. The kids were like, what's the big deal about trees? And then they, started going up the mountain and see, the thousands and thousands of acres of trees. I'm like, that's why it's a big deal. We don't get that in Florida. So it was absolutely incredible. So I'm glad to be back, though. Sometimes you do get a little homesick for work and pleasure of home. So I'm super excited because it's a new month, and I found that doing the different breath work exercises at the beginning of every radio show, it was taking such a memory to try to remember which ones I was picking. So I'm going to do the Navy SEAL method, which is still my favorite one. That's the box breathing method, where you can just do 5 seconds per wall of the box. So 5 seconds out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds hold, 5 seconds out, 5 seconds hold. So you remember that one? It was real easy.
That second hold after.
Yeah, so you picture a box in your mind, and you breathe in for 5 using your nose, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 using your nose, and then hold for 5. We'll just do a couple rounds to ground us all. And if I have any newbies listening, I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. Breath work is really important, especially for the topic today.
Ooh.
One of the ways to heal what's going on in our bodies. So
a healing method.
Yes.
Okay.
Breathing heals a lot of stuff. So let's start there. All right. So let's drop our shoulders, exhale out anything that doesn't feel right in our body, any tension, like really relax the forehead, the ears, and just like sit up straight to like align everything in the body. All right. So exhale out.
Blow out. Okay. Begin. Intake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Slowly release. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Slowly release. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you, sir. You did forget the second hold, but that's okay. That box would be like teeter-tottering or open on the top.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was a second hold.
Well,
no big deal. We have really smart listeners, so I bet you they did it correctly.
They probably did. When you said Navy SEALs, I was thinking, gee, can you do this in the pool underwater?
Yeah, and it's incredible because they've been using it for so long, so that's why they call it the Navy SEAL method as well as the box breathing method. But I mentioned on the radio show a little while back that I watch I listen in the car to Dr. Radio, and sometimes just to hear what their world is saying. And it was a lung specialist that was talking about the best thing even besides, machines and using oxygen and medication, was doing breath work. And then I was like on the edge of my seat seeing what style he preferred, and he said the box breathing method.
Well,
and I was like, yes, because that is absolutely my favorite, because I feel like it's not too long of a count. Anyone can do it. It has lots of research behind it, so it's incredible.
If people think we're all just a bunch of tree huggers, remember breath work is something that is done during some military training.
That's right. Yes, they have to learn how to not only handle their stressors,
Go tell those guys
anxiety,
that they're tree
depression.
huggers.
They're human just like us. They deal with a lot more than we do. They need the breath work even more. All right, so next week we are having Bert come on to the radio show, and we are going to be discussing in detail, and Bert is the clinical nutritionist that I have on each month out of California, and he's really a brilliant man, and he's going to discuss specifically the new program that I brought into the store that I have been on, and that really is life-changing and absolutely incredible. So it is a program. It's not a product, just to be clear. A lot of people and myself was under the assumption that it was just one of his supplements that he manufactures and sells. But it is a program, so I do already have the details at the store. But this show is going to be part 1 of 3 parts to explain the program in detail and why we all need it, but some more than others. So today I'm going to discuss the endocrine system and the role that it has with each and every one of our days. And then Bert will discuss the endocrine system in terms of losing toxicity in the body and reducing the fat cell content, which of course ends up releasing body weight. And part 3 is maintaining those results that we get doing the program. So if you're kind of saying, wait, I don't have weight to lose, just hold on there, because the endocrine system affects everything, and I mean everything, not just weight. So whether you've never dealt with a weight loss program, you still want to maybe listen in, because I have learned so much about the endocrine system, and I think there's more to discover in the following years, but I'm going to share what I thought was really cool and really important, because we could probably go on for 20 hours about this very, very complicated system, but super cool system that we all rely on to govern every one of our functions in the human body. So the first thing that I don't know if all my listeners are into things like chakras or Ayurveda medicine or Chinese medicine and things like meridians and qi, but I am. I find that a lot of information comes from these systems that have been around for thousands of years, and even though sometimes they're looped into the system of religion or specific spirituality, it really shouldn't be, because that keeps people in their little Western medicine box. And if we kind of look at these other healing systems that have been around for thousands of years, we have a better understanding. And it's people that are willing to step outside of that box that kind of goes, wait a second, that's that gland and that works with that chakra. For instance, the endocrine system, which consists of the pituitary gland, the thyroid glands, the parathyroid, the thymus, the pancreas, the adrenal glands, the ovaries, with the hypothalamus covering all of that, being the master regulator of all of those, lines up with the chakra system. So if you look at chakras and you look at a mapping of the endocrine glands, they're almost identical. There can't be a coincidence to that. And we have only explored these glands for less than, I think, 80 years, where the endocrine system, going by the chakra method, has been studied for over 2,700 years, so almost 3,000 years. I would say maybe it's time we pay attention to those systems. And again, it does not have to tie in with any religious beliefs or specific spirituality practices. All right, so I am going to try to cover the hypothalamus the most during this hour, because that is what the program really focuses on. Why would a program for weight loss really focus on one part of the endocrine system? Because that is the regulator, the control system. I kind of thought about my mom when I was studying the hypothalamus. My mom, her career was a switchboard operator in a hospital in New York. And I would visit her, and this is before we had all these fancy phone systems. And she would be by herself, and she's very social, very smart. And I would see her behind this really long counter with this great big board and all these holes with plugs. And she would just sit there with her headset and constantly be moving all these plugs while people were coming up to the counter, almost like an urgent care center or an emergency room when the ambulance is coming in, going, we need this doctor right away. We need that right away. This guy just got in a car accident. And I would watch my mom in my mind like she was like my biggest hero and miracle worker, because she would connect all these important people to the people that were suffering within seconds, moving these little pegs into the switchboard. So I think of her as the hypothalamus, right? Because you get someone coming in with a cardiac issue that's life-threatening. If she doesn't connect to the right doctor immediately, that person can lose their life. So it's absolutely critical that my mom was in the best shape for her shift, right? So what happens? Now, my mom did have 8 children. I was the youngest, so, that's on her. But some days, obviously, stress would affect her, sleeplessness would affect her, or economic distress. Like, there could be so many things happening in my mom's mind and body, right? So she'll come to work. Again, her job is just as important it was the day before, and she's tired. Or maybe her sleeplessness has affected her vision where it's not as sharp, or her brain is not as alert. Maybe she didn't have the caffeine in the morning. And all of a sudden, some of the plugs are going in the wrong holes. Some of the people that are coming in, she's not connecting what doctor needs to be connected to her as quickly. So that's the hypothalamus. It is vulnerable to everything and anything. And just like my mom, it has to be taken care of. Now, the good news is the hypothalamus is very forgiving to some of our bad choices, but not forever. Okay, so you can kind of push it a little in different directions, a little late night, couple times a week, not a big deal. But going to bed late every night starts catching up. Not getting the good nutrition in starts to catch up. So these are things that I really love the analogy of my mom at that switchboard, because it shows you that we can help. Just like we can help my mom, right? All of us kids, we can have the house clean. We can have a nice meal on the table for her, lessen her stress, make her sleeping environment healthier. So that way, when she goes into that hospital and that huge switchboard is in front of her, she's making all the connections so that everyone in the hospital is getting what they need at the right time. So all is well. So that's your hypothalamus. And I'm just going to name just a few of the things the hypothalamus controls. Of course, because of this discussion, the weight set point. So anything to do with metabolism, okay? The weight that you're like, no matter what, I can't go around that number. I'm stuck at that weight. That's your hypothalamus. Your body temperature, your fertility, your sleep cycles or lack of or too much of. That's hypothalamus. Your stress response, memory, moods, hunger, and in the most studies with the hypothalamus have been on hunger. And I want to mention one study that was done in the 40s when they discovered that the hypothalamus does regulate your appetite. They did an experiment with mice where they damaged the hypothalamus, and that mouse, when it was put back in its cage with food, engorged itself so much that it stopped breathing because it was so hungry. It just kept eating and literally suffocated on stuffing the food down its throat so fast. That's how much the hypothalamus, from just being damaged seconds earlier, affected its appetite. So it's a very serious thing when you feel like you are overeating or undereating and the weight, you have no control. That might be absolutely true. Detoxification. This is a cycle that's supposed to happen each and every day, every second. Our bodies are designed to get poison out or put it in safe places. So the hypothalamus is also regulating that, a super critical role of it. Immunity. I hope that sounds really important to all of us. So when you think about autoimmune diseases, everyone's talking about lupus, Lyme's, all these conditions that you have to Google to really realize, what is this? It's when your own immune system is not being regulated. Some people will say, oh, it's too much immunity. That's not the case. It's just not being regulated. Whether your immune system is going on attacking you or being sluggish, it's still not regulated properly. It's being dysfunctional. And that's the hypothalamus's job. So when it's not working well, your immunity will suffer. Healing to me goes with immunity, but healing is critical. You might hear of someone, they got a scratch on their leg. The scratch didn't go away for 3 weeks, a simple scratch that should have go away in 2 days. Yes, or they knock their knee and all of a sudden their skin is splitting and there's huge bruises that don't go away again for sometimes not only weeks but months. That's your hypothalamus. So again, it's in control of what you can see and what you can't see as well. And the biggest one that usually no one pays attention to until their late 50s is the rate of aging. This is something we want to be on top of even in our 20s or 30s, because if that hypothalamus is aging you quicker, you might not notice in your 30s, but all of a sudden in your 40s, you're like, wait, I'm on the same medications that my parents were on when they were in their 80s. What's happening here? Or I'm already becoming a couch potato and, I used to do, marathons. So it is really important to watch this. It is not natural to age quickly. It should be so subtle that you don't even notice. So again, that is the hypothalamus. So there's so much. I mean, I hope everyone really takes that in. I was just really talking about the main points, but it's like it regulates everything. Like, let's think of the thyroid. Everyone, when they talk about going to an endocrinologist, they think about their thyroid gland. Oh, I can't lose or gain weight because of my thyroid. It's that the thyroid is, again, a symptom of the master regulator, the hypothalamus. So when some people say, oh, my bones are not getting strong, remember your bones are this living tissue part of your endocrine system. That, again, not your thyroid, it's your hypothalamus. So the pituitary system, as far as if you're not growing properly, everyone will just like subsidize that whole pituitary system. But there's that hypothalamus pituitary axis that they call the HPA, and that is critical. And they're only just starting to kind of really understand it. Just like they used to say we didn't have any bacteria in our guts, it really didn't matter. Who cares about bacteria? And now they're realizing bacteria determines life and everything in us. So again, you have to really be intuitive about your own body. And really, modern medicine is not really thinking about the hypothalamus still, and they don't usually bring it up because they are used to dealing with the symptomology of a glandular system. So again, if the thyroid isn't working, what are they going to tell you? Oh, let's take it out. It doesn't look right. Let's take it out. Or your pancreas, like let's remove parts of things, or let's give it a medicine specifically for what that one makes, or that hormone receptor site. But if you look at it that way and not holistically, like it's all one beautiful family with the hypothalamus kind of controlling that home, you will get yourself into trouble. You will never deal with the root cause. You're only dealing with the symptomology. So really, really important. And they really are ignoring the hypothalamus in modern medicine today. And I do believe it's because they really don't understand it. All the things that you search online when they discuss the hypothalamus might not correspond to their way of thinking, because all the ways to heal a hypothalamus goes against what they've been trained for. It doesn't involve surgery, unless the only one occasion that is different than that statement is if you had a brain injury where you actually got your hypothalamus damaged, like in a car accident or a fall. That's different. Or if you are growing a tumor that's pressing on the hypothalamus. But once again, why was that tumor growing in the first place? So that is, again, regulated by your hypothalamus. So really the first reason would be the main one, that they would be excited because then they can physically see something that's wrong in the brain, because the hypothalamus is located in the base of that brain. So they can go in there and take something away that might be pressing against it. But other than that, all the solutions that you might come up with do date back, again, thousands of years ago, that we're going to go into after the break to discuss how do we heal this hypothalamus that is absolutely critical for our health without drugs or surgery. So when I come back, that's what we're going to talk about.
And we'll be right back with more on Joanne's World of Nutrition in just a moment.
Hi, this is Joanne from Nutrition World and Wellness Center. I am really excited to introduce new guests and topics to my show every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on WPSL, where my listeners can call in on any topic. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. We want to help you become the best version of yourself. We'll have naturopaths, coaches. I am looking forward to sharing my years of experience with my listeners so we can enjoy this life journey together.
Visit Joanne's Nutrition World in the Kras Square, formerly known as the Arcade Building, located at US 1 and Orange Avenue, across from Fort Pierce City Hall. Open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, Saturdays 10 to 3. Taking appointments for the Wellness Center online at joannesnutritionworld.com or call 772-464-3598. Join Joanne Seeger as she guides the Treasure Coast to health, one person at a time, on Joanne's World of Nutrition. Now on a new day, Wednesday mornings at 10 on WPSL.
I am so excited to share with all my listeners all the cutting-edge health topics of today. I look forward to hearing from you. Remember, it's a live call-in show. Any questions you have on health and nutrition, I look forward to answering.
Join us here for Joanne's World of Nutrition every Wednesday morning at 10 on WPSL.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
Friends, tree huggers, and breath workers, we're back with Joanne's World of Nutrition and Joanne Seeger.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me this morning. We are discussing the hypothalamus. Because in the program that I am using at the store, it is with Bert from Positive Power Nutrition, and we are going to go into more detail on next Wednesday's show. But I wanted to just do like a preview of the endocrine system, because I know in all these years, if you go to an endocrinologist, thyroid specialist, and discuss your weight gain, and you swear to them that you're not doing any more than the average Joe, as far as you're not sitting on the couch eating bonbons all night, and you're not pigging out at the drive-thrus. They either look at you like you're lying, or they'll test your hormones and they'll go, oh, well, your hormone profile is absolutely normal for your age, so you're good. And they'll send you out the door, usually with either glucose-lowering drugs that really have nothing to do with it, because like I discussed, the hypothalamus has a million jobs to do. One of the ones is glucose regulation, right? So if the hypothalamus isn't working properly or not having its best days, then your glucose is going to be affected too, as well as your insulin. So they really will just throw at what the most popular drug of the year is, despite its side effects, and then they'll kind of like hold on to this study where 2 of the 10 people might have lost 4 pounds in that month, which to me, no big deal. I mean, you could do that with just staying away from bread these days, but it's really frustrating. I'm going to talk for both males and females, but I know as a postmenopausal woman, which I mention a lot because I really identify with so many more struggles that females go through, in their late 40s or 50s with the menopausal change and weight gain and fat distribution in areas that you never thought you would end up with. You look at your moms and you go, oh, yeah, I'll never have that body. And then all of a sudden you're looking in the mirror and you're like, wow, there it is. So the hypothalamus, again, never is discussed. Ever, not with anyone that I know. So we are here to really stress to all the listeners to share the message that the program that I'm going to offer at the store starting today is the goal is to repair the hypothalamus. Now, some people that come in and fill out the questionnaire, they might not have hypothalamus dysfunction. Their weight gain could be completely based on another dysfunction. But if it is the hypothalamus, then the program would be perfect for you. So let's talk about what things would cause hypothalamus dysfunction, and if you identify with some of these things, then you might be perfect for the program. So the hypothalamus is extremely sensitive to your sleep patterns. As I just mentioned, once a week, kind of grabbing your iPad and researching before bed or watching one Netflix movie, not a big deal. But once it becomes a pattern where you're basically telling your hypothalamus that the TV, the device, or anything else that's digital is more important than sleep, it is going to kind of get upset and start being dysfunctional, okay? I hate to use this analogy, but it's like a parent that, the kid is trying to get your attention, and meanwhile you're just staring at your phone, scrolling, soon enough that kid's going to really start yanking on you and being like, come on, I need you. That's the hypothalamus. It will put up with a lot, but it will get to the point where it will start showing you symptomology to get your attention. So sleep is the first thing. I do have a show that I did just on sleep that you can go back to on YouTube, but just the bullet points. It must be a dark room, and I mean dark. If you have to have some light for safety to get to the restroom, then it should be like a light that's either in the orange or red color, so it doesn't upset your circadian system. So of course safety is important, but make sure you do not have any bright light bulbs guiding you to the restroom, and through the restroom itself. Again, do not turn on the lights when using the restroom. Just have a night light that has the appropriate color bulb to keep you safe. White noise, brown noise, I did a show on that as well, is great to help with this with the sleep cycle. So brown noise is our favorite now, or you can use a fan, or there's many YouTube videos that you can download, so you don't have your phone on right next to you on the nightstand. But dark room, some brown noise or white noise, and just use red light bulbs or orange if you need guide, for safety for the restroom. And keep a schedule. So there is a lot of studies that show that you should be going to bed, very close to sundown. Most of us do not follow that schedule, but just be reasonable. So if you're going to bed at 1 a.m., that's absolutely not reasonable. So maybe just, start inching it back up closer to 10 p.m. as you can do. The best is 9 p.m., but I know that's tough for some of us. And if you work, crazy shifts where the work changes, then you might need some melatonin assistance, and that's what it's most famous for, to regulate your sleep patterns. All right, so I don't want to go too much into sleep, but it is the number one thing. Just like I was mentioning, if my mom went to work tired, those plugs would not get into the hole as quickly and as accurately. So it's really, really common sense. You need your sleep. Okay? The next thing is your home and work environment, if there are any endocrine disrupting chemicals. All this information is available online. You can go to the Environmental Working Group website, ewg.com. I love their website. They really do put honest information out there without kind of showing that they're scared of hurting people's feelings. They really will mention, every product out there that has endocrine disrupting chemicals. Where if you look in the American Cancer Society webpage or the Endocrine Society webpage, they're a little more careful not to hurt people's feelings, worried probably about lawsuits and stuff. But you can just literally Google what products contain endocrine disrupting chemicals. The big ones are the ones that had to win in a court of law to actually be able to put this information out there. Keep that in mind, because there are probably 1,000 others, but these are the ones that are in the news, okay? The one that I find that no one is talking about now post-COVID, which is kind of sad, because definitely a link to cancer and endocrine dysfunction, again, hypothalamus, is triclosan. So triclosan is the one that's an antimicrobial and in hand sanitizers and body washes. So please check anything in your home or work environment that's an antibacterial. Make sure that it has no triclosan in it. So triclosan. The story that I have is, it hits close to home because it's my stepdaughter. She went for her routine annual doctor's appointment and got blood work done, just the normal panel. and her white blood cells, her immunity was so dangerously low that it looked like she might have, like, say, leukemia. It was scary, but I always feel like some miracle happens in my life where I'm a little guided, where I was in the car with her the very same day that we got the news, and she was taking those terrible hand sanitizers that you get from those foo-foo stores with all the smelly stuff. I won't mention names. And she was taking it, like globs of it, and spreading it on her feet because she didn't like how her feet smelled. And that was what was causing the blood dysfunction. So we just took, because I knew that it did that, but I didn't realize that she was globbing it on her feet each day after school. So these things do affect it. It is proven. It's not hearsay, so please watch out for that one. There are natural hand sanitizers that they make without triclosan, and most of the big brands have stopped using it in there. But again, when these laws hit, it usually gives them 3-5 years before all these products get rid of them, and the damage might have already been done. So you have to take more action steps. All right, so another one that I hope all my listeners have heard about is PCBs. So PCBs are the plasticizers that you see in paints, pigment, dyes, plastic, rubber products. What's super crazy, there was one organization in Europe that studied these endocrine disrupting chemicals in hospitals. And do you know that a nurse's shift, she usually is surrounded by 70% of her environment is endocrine disrupting chemicals. So besides the hand sanitizer, the tubing for the saline bags or the medicine, the injectors, I'm like the needles, syringes, like everything has these endocrine disruptors in it. Because if you think about it, plastic, right? But we do know that plastic has a place in this world, but you can limit your exposure or try not to purposely ingest these things. Like, for instance, if you are a nurse and you do have to work around all these endocrine disruptors, then maybe at home, don't put a microwave dinner in with a plastic, right? So there are some that you can control, which goes to the next one that you absolutely can control, which is synthetic fragrance. I've probably bored you with saying this so many times on the show, but I can't emphasize enough how critical it is that you're not breathing in these synthetic fragrances. My husband, I love this line that he says all the time at the store. You might only eat a few times a day, but we breathe 24/7. What you breathe matters more than what you eat. So if you're breathing in synthetic chemicals all day or all night long, putting this wonderful candle in your bedroom, or spraying Febreze throughout the house, or using chemical floor cleaners, or whatever you might love to smell, your body does not love it. And so dryer sheets, laundry detergent, Dawn dish soap, these are things you need to control because there's so much out of our control that's endocrine disrupting. The next one is a big one too, and that's the dioxins. So the dioxins are a byproduct of herbicides. They're used in paper bleaching. So again, if anything looks real pretty, like coffee filters, for instance, when we went on vacation, that's the coffee filters they had there for the coffee pot. They were bright white. I knew they had bleach in them. I kind of gave in thinking it's just a week, but I really didn't think my coffee even tastes as good as it usually does with the non-bleach. Think about it. It's bleach. So if you're ingesting something or using something that's bright white every day, that's a dioxin, absolutely endocrine disrupting. All right, so again, I could do a whole hour on endocrine disrupting chemicals, but those are the big ones. So keep in mind, that dryer sheets, laundry detergent, anything that you can smell when you walk in your front door. Like everyone knows those smells. Like, oh, someone's doing laundry, or oh, someone just sprayed Febreze, or someone's using the restroom and plugged in a Renews It. That I know sometimes our natural human smells are not as fun as vanilla and lemon and stuff, but the body will get broken if you keep subjecting it to breathing in that stuff every day.
Now, we normally wouldn't ingest ammonia, but it occurs when you eat asparagus. Is that bad for you?
Well, I think in the scheme of things, what I tell people, if it's naturally created, the body knows how to handle it. That's why they say that synthetic chemicals, there are things that are natural that upset the hypothalamus and the endocrine system that I'm going to go into next, so great thing.
Good train of thought.
But the asparagus I would not worry about. There are some issues, like for instance, like if you get a gout attack and you go to the doctor or call up urgent care, they're going to say, stay away from asparagus. Okay? So it is a trigger when your body isn't regulated, but it's part of the symptomology. It's not part of the cause. So asparagus doesn't cause the dysfunction, but when a system is not regulating itself properly, a lot of things start bothering it that shouldn't have bothered it. So like asparagus if you have gout.
So it would be okay to ask your doctor, is it okay for me to eat asparagus?
Yeah.
It's okay to ask
again, if you never had any symptom of gout, you'll probably be fine with asparagus.
Okay.
You'll probably be fine. But again, like when you're taking lots of medications or you have so much endocrine dysfunction already, everything kind of becomes this like teeter-saw, like where you don't want to like upset the system any more than it already is. Like for instance, I didn't get to mention with the hypothalamus, it also regulates your hydration, your sodium and electrolyte balance. Critical thing. Do you know the hypothalamus will tell the kidneys, okay, just kind of hold up. It's like having beavers build a dam in front of the kidneys, saying this person is either not having enough sodium in their diet naturally, or they're not having enough water. So there's too much sodium, not enough water. It doesn't know where to bring the water to. And so the hypothalamus just kind of goes, wait, okay, just stop the kidneys. Just stop them because I don't have enough to work with. And it's really, I'm trying to oversimplify it because it's a very complicated system. But again, if you give the endocrine system the tools it needs to work with, which again, good nutrition, good hydration, sleep, just the really infant basics, I call it. Just like when you were born, you needed basics. You just got to go back to basics. It's never in a need of a medication. That's a symptomology issue, not fixing and causation. So I do want to talk about the natural things that stress out the endocrine system. It's not just all synthetic. So I mentioned not sleeping well. Well, how about stress, right? Who has stress? No one has stress, right? And stress can come from all different things. Like, for instance, exercising is a stress. But the hypothalamus needs exercise. So what does that mean? Not stressing yourself out about getting a certain amount, a certain type, like making your exercise part of this wonderful part of your day, not stressing about it, or if you miss the moment, not stressing about missing it. So there is a balance. Like the hypothalamus loves yoga, it loves meditation, it loves exercise that's like walking, swimming, qigong, tai chi. There are no studies about weight training and the hypothalamus. I definitely love weight training. I'm definitely not that cardio girl anymore, so I'd much rather lift some weights than, do an hour on the treadmill. And most studies are showing that it all can be incorporated in for a healthy mind-body experience, but you know your limits. So if you keep pushing yourself, then your hypothalamus is going to take the toll. So again, respect your exercise time, but again, if you're a couch potato and your tendency is to sit all day and going home more tired, then even start with a mini rebounder. Everyone that comes in my store knows I love mini rebounders. I have one at the wellness center. We have 2 at home. To me, they're super easy and fun. You can buy them anywhere now. So
Those little bitty trampolines.
yeah,
Right?
little bitty trampolines. They have handles now. They have ones that are $50. They have ones that are $700. A $700 one, man, you could do some tricks on that thing, boy.
Whole family could get
yeah,
on
the
it.
whole family. And they have like classes now free on YouTube where you get a good quality one. You watch the weight limit. So if you are trying to lose and you do feel like you're over the normal weight, you want to get a strong one, because even if it's $70, you'd be wasting $70 because you're going to have to return it and get a better one that can handle some extra weight, especially if you're going to exercise on it. So again, respect your exercise time. So stress also comes in the form of being in a relationship that's making you miserable, being in a job that's making you miserable, or not being able to communicate with people in your immediate world. You want to learn how to handle those stressors, because even if you don't see the aging in the mirror, inside your nervous system, remember, your bones are part of the endocrine system. The hypothalamus has to draw from somewhere if you're constantly stressing it out. So you really want to handle that. We have found a lot of amazing resources online now. That's one great thing about COVID. It did bring a lot of things available online, like online therapy. There's amazing therapists out there. So find ways, journaling, writing. I had a whole show on the Miracle Morning. They have an app. They have tons of free information, or a very inexpensive book, a free documentary online. So the Miracle Morning are all very sound steps to repair the hypothalamus. But stress is definitely a big problem with the hypothalamus, causing dysfunction. The next thing is, so a lot of attention right now is on dangerous fats. And when I say that, they used to imply animal fats, but that's not what that means anymore. They mean omega-6s that are chemically altered or processed. So your canola oil, your soybean oil, your safflower oil, your vegetable oil blends, or fried foods, gosh forbid, in a fast food restaurant drive-through food. That is the most dangerous for the hypothalamus. It absolutely hates that type of food. That's the only research they've done with that food category, but I can guarantee you, if we revisit this conversation in a few years, they're going to say the same thing about sugary food, refined starches. The hypothalamus only loves things that will nourish it, not overwhelm it with trying to figure out where these synthetic chemicals need to store in the body. How do I get rid of these toxins or poison? So again, sometimes we don't need studies to see the obvious, okay? So if you put foods in your body that are chemical based or processed in ways that you would never see in nature, the hypothalamus has to deal with the consequence of that. And again, once in a while, not a big deal, but you do it as a habit, it will start taking a significant toll. And again, you do not have to gorge yourself on these things. So even just one fried donut a day, even though you might look at it like, well, I'm only having one meal, I'm not reaching calories, and I'm still having health problems, it's because it's also working on a deficit. Not only you're putting in a item that has to be worked on, but you're also not giving it any nutrition. So it's a double whammy. Okay, so now the other one is basically, it sounds a little bit out there, but I hope my listeners really understand this part. The lack of love in your life, okay? The lack of love. So I do believe that health begins with love. Love for yourself, love for your fellow man. I really do believe that. And that's why if you have loving relationships, whether it be with a fish, a turtle, a dog, a significant other, another human, or with who you work with, or the people that you just buy your groceries from at the checkout line. If you look at things with a loving heart and an open mind and a forgiving spirit, the hypothalamus loves those things. And that's why the biggest thing in the hypothalamic healing world is they will say, use acupuncture, use acupressure. There are chiropractors that have stemmed methods on healing the hypothalamus based on these acupuncture points that have been designed from thousands of years ago. So that might be a good time to visit an acupuncturist and getting those chakras lined up, getting your endocrine glands all the circulation they need, and open up those pathways, because they're seeing it's not just all about this blood system where you can see it. It's also about the central nervous system connecting all these glands. So you really, really want to approach yourself with loving thoughts and also as much around you as possible, okay? There are incredible acupuncturists in the area that my listeners might be living in, so the Treasure Coast. There's one on Gatlin that I use, and I'm trying to I'm trying to think of the name of her practice, Marcella. So I go to Marcella on Gatlin, but there are lots of incredible acupuncturists that you can use. So meditation, look into the Miracle Morning, and hydration, really critical for us Floridians right now. So thank you for listening. Definitely tune in next week with Bert. We're going to go into the specifics on weight loss and the hypothalamus reset. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
You've been listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World, Joanne's Nutrition World in Fort Pierce. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie.